My sister begged me to save our grandmother's restaurant. I said no. My grandmother opened that restaurant 40 years ago and spent the last 6 years of her life teaching me every recipe by hand. Not from cookbooks, but standing beside me at the stove, guiding my hands, telling me stories while we cooked. When she died, I was 19, and I took over her kitchen. That was 12 years ago. My sister worked the front and got praised for having grandma's warmth. I was just the cook. I thought they saw what I did. Every Sunday dinner, my parents would talk about how my sister lit up the room, how customers adored her, how grandma would be so proud. When they mentioned me, it was like discussing a reliable appliance. One Thanksgiving, my sister posted a photo of the packed dining room and captioned it, "Grandma's legacy lives on." And it got hundreds of comments about how she had grandma's soul. I spent that Thanksgiving in the kitchen alone making the same dishes grandma taught me, and my parents didn't mention the food once. When my father started talking about retirement, I thought they would finally see me. They called a family dinner last spring, and I showed up expecting to discuss partnership. My father stood up with tears in his eyes and announced that my sister would be taking full ownership. My mother squeezed my sister's hand like they had just shared wonderful news. I sat there waiting for someone to look at me. My father finally did. "You're talented, sweetheart, but your sister has grandma's gift with people. You could cook anywhere. She needs this place." I asked them when the last time was that either of them watched me cook. They looked confused. I asked if they knew I still use grandma's handwritten recipe cards, the ones only I can read. My sister laughed and said, "We all miss grandma, but you can't live in the past forever." I looked at this family who thought I would be fine anywhere, and I finally understood. They never saw the food as love. They saw it as background noise while my sister performed the real magic. I pulled off my apron, folded it on the table, and said, "You just made your choice. I'm making mine." I was out the door before my mother finished calling my name. I drove home and didn't get out of bed for 3 days. I rented a small commercial kitchen and started catering with grandma's recipes. I also started volunteering at a community kitchen, teaching anyone who wanted to learn. There was a teenager there who reminded me of myself, quiet and more comfortable with food than people, and I guided her hands at the stove the same way grandma once guided mine. Meanwhile, my sister called me asking how to make the gravy. I let it ring. She texted ingredient list with question marks, and I never responded. Then one of our longtime regulars tracked me down through my catering page and asked what happened to the food. She had ordered the chicken and dumplings, and it tasted like someone had read a recipe off the internet. My sister had gone through 3 cooks because none of them could figure out what was missing. The latest one quit after my sister screamed at him in the kitchen loud enough for customers to hear from the dining room. Half the tables were empty on a Saturday night, and the people who were there looked like they weren't coming back. My sister kept texting me, each message more frantic than the last. She sent me a photo of a 1-star review that said, "This is not the same restaurant," and wrote, "Are you happy now?" I didn't respond to that either. Then she showed up at my apartment with swollen eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "I had no idea how much you did. The restaurant is failing, and I need you to come back." I asked what she expected me to do about it. "Just a few months," she said. "Just until things stabilize. You can't let grandma's legacy die over some grudge." I told her no. She got angry then, her voice rising. "This is so typical. You've always been jealous of my relationship with mom and dad. Grandma would be ashamed of you right now." I looked at her for a long moment. "Interesting," I said. "When exactly did you ask grandma to teach you anything? Because I was at that stove every single morning." She said she was busy, that she was young, that she didn't know grandma would die so soon. "I was young too," I said, and I showed up. Grandma didn't write those recipes down because they weren't instructions. They were hours of standing together, learning by feel, listening to her stories. She gave them to me because I actually wanted them. My sister stood there with nothing left to say and then walked out. My mother came by begging me to reconsider for grandma's sake. I told her I spent every week now teaching grandma's recipes to people who actually wanted to learn them. "You gave my sister a building," I said. "I got everything grandma actually left behind." I closed the door. The restaurant shut down before the year was over.